In this video, I'm going to be playing Resident Evil 3, not on the PlayStation, but I will be playing on PC just to get the footage. But I did also play this on PlayStation just to, experience the nostalgia and all that good stuff. Absolutely incredible game. Definitely recommend playing this. Super fun. It also comes with a disc of Dino Crisis that I definitely might check out in the future. Very cool looking design on the disc. Another very cool design on this disc as well. Definitely enjoyed it. Here's the cover, here's the game. The whole point of this series is for me to go through all my game catalog and play all the games that I have stored that I haven't gotten to yet. So in this video we're going to be doing Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. Thank you for watching the video, hope you enjoy, and here's the video.
Resident Evil.
Resident Evil 3 Nemesis released all the way back in 1999, where the PlayStation had been making its mark in the video game scene. Being the third game in the series, it brought back Jill Valentine, a special tactics and rescue service operative known as a STARS member. There's once again an infection taking over the setting of our game, but this time it's a whole lot bigger, taking place in Raccoon City. Now, what's so special about this game? I mean, it's old, the controls are outdated, and the voice acting isn't exactly captivating. So what made me want to go back and play this late 90s classic when it's already been rebuilt for the newer gaming machines like the PlayStation 5? Well, although a new coat of paint was definitely appreciated in terms of graphics, more refined controls, and incredible acting as usual, the original still retains more settings to explore in the game, a forgotten art style of pre-rendered graphics, and a lot of methodical, slow-paced arcade action. To start, one of my favorite things about the Resident Evil games is organizing my inventory and my item box inside of the safe rooms, and it's just as satisfying as it was in the previous games. The way these boxes work is that they are almost always located inside of one of these safe rooms like you see here, and you always know you're in a safe room when you hear relaxing music like this and there's a typewriter sitting in the corner of the room. Using a typewriter allows you to save your progress, and using these boxes, even if they're not in the same room, all keep your items. So you can open the chest, put an item in this box, and then in an hour or two when you find another box, you can take the item out even though you put it in the other room hours ago. There's a lot of variety in this game too, not just weapons but enemies. Here is an example of some alien spider looking things that I took out. And one thing I do have to give to the remake is that we did get to see these enemies for a little bit longer in the beginning. Something really cool that I noticed while playing this game is that they kept a lot of themes of the puzzles the same throughout the series. Like in Resident Evil 7, there's a puzzle that requires you to take a shotgun, but when you grab it, you get locked in that room, and the only way to leave that room is by putting the shotgun back. As you can see here, it's the same thing, except with this object, this circular object, and once I put it back inside of its slot, the electricity goes away. Just like that last puzzle I was showing, a lot of things that you find around the game require certain objects in order to interact with them. Like here, we needed a certain wrench or tool in order to open this hatch. And once we open that, we access new areas. Another example is this puzzle right here. Once we find all the required gems, it powers on that machine and unlocks another area. Out of all the areas I ended up visiting while playing this game, this had to be one of my favorites. I just really like the backgrounds of all the greenery and the plants, as well as just the theme of it. As you're exploring the city, depending on how many times you've been somewhere, different things may happen. Like that, for example. After the door swung open and I took out the zombies, I was able to access a new area. And this promotes a lot of exploring, which I really appreciate. Unfortunately though, sometimes there's no benefit to these interactions. Just like in the previous games, some puzzles don't require items, but require thinking, and unfortunately this one wasn't my strong suit, and it took me a few attempts. However, what the puzzles do have in common is they always give you items. Even with the older graphics of this game, a lot of scenes can still look really impactful and dramatic. Some scenes are less dramatic than others, though. After shooting that explosive, I actually ended up getting reset pretty far back, all the way to where I saved last, which was like about 2 hours ago. So, although the mechanic of the typewriter, saving your progress, is really cool, but when you forget about it, it comes to bite you in the ass. I had to do a couple puzzles over again as well.
No! Don't make me do this, Murphy. I don't want to shoot you. Kill me. I finished. Not human. Wait, we don't have to do this. Please hurry. Before lose conscious. Before too late. Kill me! Yeah! Murphy. Why? No. No.
Carlos!
The person we just watched kill that guy was Carlos, and he is a good guy, but he works for Umbrella. And Umbrella is the company that makes these bioweapons like the zombies and that weird spider thing from earlier. But Carlos himself is a good guy because he's just a mercenary who got hired. So it really creates this weird dynamic with him at first because Jill doesn't trust him. In the third game, I found myself actually appreciating the scenes with the most action. Whereas in the previous ones, I liked when it was slow and more, you know, horror atmosphere instead of action, where this game kind of takes that over. A new element that they added to the Resident Evil games in the third one is decision making in real time, and I think that it's really cool seeing how it plays out differently, whether or not you choose option A or B. Not all items in this game are required to be used in order to beat the game. For example, I found this crank earlier, and I remembered seeing a shutter that had a missing crank spot, so I returned all the way to this spot, used the crank, and I found a secret ammo stash. So it really, you know, promotes exploring and, you know, detective work, and I really appreciate that.
Stars.
This huge zombie right here is actually Nemesis himself, you know, the guy in the title of the game. And he said stars because his mission, the reason he was created, is to take out all STARS members, which includes us. So, you know, he is a big threat and the primary enemy of the game, but we'll talk more about him later. Nemesis isn't the only boss in this game, however. Although this isn't the encounter where you take this boss out, this is the first time you encounter it, and it's kind of like this big meatworm thing. Although I wasn't sure how to take it out at first, I kind of had the right idea. So you're supposed to go around and activate these levers that will power on the switch to the ladder. And once you power on the ladder, you're able to climb up it. But, you know, he kind of blocked my way and ended up taking me out.
Stars.
After dying to the meatworm, I ended up having to deal with Nemesis again, but this time I tried fighting him. Now, it is possible to beat him, but he's incredibly hard and takes a lot of ammo. And this encounter set the precedent of how I deal with him a lot in the future, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Although I did end up losing the Nemesis, once I got to try the worm fight again, I realized I could bait him out of one of the holes and then run to the other side and climb up the ladder, so I was able to get past him. The first big puzzle I was able to complete was finding all 3 parts I needed to get the train running, and we were going to use this train to escape the city, but it didn't go as planned.
Carlos, I'm sorry about Murphy, but there was nothing you could have done.
Yeah, you're right, Jill. I'll operate the cable car. It's looking good. Mikhail!
Mikhail!
The second big encounter with Nemesis I decided to show was on the train after getting it started. And I ended up picking this specifically because it fills in a big transition from one area to another. And I thought it made sense story-wise just to show a little bit of like the plot of the game.
Jill! Get out of the cable car now!
Mikhail, wait, don't!
Get out of here! Hurry! Just a little closer. Yes.
Mikhail.
After fighting off Nemesis again and unfortunately losing Mihail, we end up making another decision that lands me in my favorite location of the game, which will be coming up shortly. After the train crashes, I end up landing in the clock tower area. And this has got to be my favorite place, aesthetically, the music, just the atmosphere, and just the rooms. I really liked the puzzles. Everything about this place was really cool, except for these birds. I wasn't really paying attention to these birds, wasn't taking them seriously. I finally, got to the front door, and I was like, oh man, the front door's locked. I didn't realize how low on health I was, so I just kept walking around, and I ended up, I'll just let the clip play. Dying to a bird.
Stars.
This unfortunately ended up being another instance of me forgetting to save my progress a lot, and I ended up having to do these 3 mini boss fights over again. But once I made it inside the clock tower, I was immediately, back in my good mood, just exploring the area, checking out all the rooms, and just the mystery of this place was really cool. I like the big buildings, like just staying inside of one big building with all these like expansive rooms and puzzles and secrets. Like this music box, for example. I wasn't really sure what this did, but I kept it in mind for later, and I thought it kind of sounded weird. Maybe not new to the series, but we are once again introduced to another new type of enemy once you go upstairs inside the clock tower. I really liked the theme going on at the top of the clock tower with the wind blowing and the dark clouds outside, but it wasn't peaceful out here for long.
Stars.
I ended up finding out what that weird music box was for. Another cool puzzle inside of the clock tower was these 3 statues all holding different style balls or like weights inside of those dishes. And once you put them in the right spot, it would change the time on these clocks. And once they all lined up to be the same, it would open up the middle one and give you a new item.
We're saved. Down here! It's finally over. Huh? No!
Stars. Stars.
Jill! Ah!
Stars. Stars.
For me, this ended up being the hardest boss fight by far. You start off the boss fight being poisoned, as you can see in the top left corner, and that just means you can't tell how much health you have unless you're looking at the stance of your character as you walk around, because you do start to limp a little bit more as you're hurt. And as you can see, I died a lot, so this is just going to be a little compilation of me just like getting destroyed by Nemesis. And I did end up eventually finding a rhythm to this fight, or kind of like a glitch. You get him stuck in this specific corner, and he can't do much about it, but you'll see that coming up. This is where I eventually ended up figuring out how to get him stuck, but these clips are over the course of like 2 or 3 days. This fight took me a while to figure out. Holy sh! Finally!
Carlos!
Jill! Jill! Hey, don't die on me. Jill! Jill!
October 1st, night. I woke up to the sound of falling rain. I can't believe I'm still alive. Carlos?
It looks like our roles have been reversed from when we originally met, huh? Don't worry, Jill. This chapel is safe.
I've been infected by the virus, haven't I?
Hey! Take it easy.
I'm okay. Don't feel any pain. But that's what bothers me. If I can't feel anything, then what does that mean?
Don't give up, Jill. I'll take care of you. Whatever you do, don't let that virus beat you.
During the previous boss fight, when Jill got stung by Nemesis, that ended up getting her infected, and this is what really turns the tide and kind of, cements the idea that Carlos is a good guy and he's here to help. And now you actually get to play as a new character, which is Carlos. He comes with an M4A1 assault rifle, and he also gets his own pistol. And it's super fun playing as Carlos because his gun is fully automatic, depending on whether you have that turned on or not. But, the game is aware of how fun he is, so they tend to put a bunch of zombies in the same room so you can just mow them all down, like this book here. You were able to access this room earlier as Jill, but you weren't able to move that bell because it was too heavy. So now that you're playing as Carlos, you're able to expand your places you can go to. And now you can travel outside of the clock tower into the back area, and you discover the hospital, which is a new area. And inside of the hospital, there is a new type of enemy waiting for us. These enemies are called the Hunters, and although they may look familiar from previous games, they do seem slightly different, like different color variations of the Hunters from Resident Evil 1. Other new enemies are these little eel things, or whatever you would call them, I found in this room, but they seem to turn red after biting you, as if they're like bloodsuckers or something like that.
Don't shoot! No! Nikolai? You're still alive?
You saw what happened.
What's going on?
I'm one of the supervisors. That's all you need to know.
Wait!
Nikolai, the guy we just saw, is the leader of the group that Carlos and Mihail were in, but Jill saw him allegedly get killed earlier, but now he's back, and just like Jill thought, he's evil and crazy, and he just took out one of his own members. The reason he's trying to do this, we'll figure out later, but for now, just know that he's not a good guy. This is another puzzle I was trying to figure out, and this kind of ended up just being trial and error, but here's a extended clip of me figuring that out. That item we ended up finding in the hospital as Carlos was actually the cure to the virus that Jill got infected with. So after we administer that to Jill, she wakes up and we end up playing as her again, but Carlos is gone. So now, as her, we get to explore the new areas that Carlos unlocked for us earlier, like the park, for example. Now we get to fight the Hunters as Jill. This is another puzzle I ended up figuring out, and there's actually different solutions to it, and based off of what solution you type in is how it affects the park around you. The one I typed in here actually opens this trap door under the water and sucks out all the water so you can travel through it. Here is the graveyard area, another area of the park, and a key I ended up finding allowed me to go inside of here. And this is kind of what explains why Nikolai is a bad guy. Inside of this cottage in the back of the graveyard, there was a light peeking through the bottom of the fireplace. So after you take a match and light all the wood on fire to get it out of the way, you can actually take a bar and hit the rest of the bricks to get them out of the way, and once you crawl through there, you find this secret room. Inside of this room, there ends up being a transmission, and it talks about what Nikolai's looking for. So basically what this note says is that the guinea pigs aka the humans, are all being tested on by the zombies and seeing how effective they are. And it refers to the zombies as, like, you know, not very smart, but they can withstand a lot of damage. Like, they can lose vital organs and somehow still move around. And then it also, you know, explains the part of, like, their enemies theoretically being able to get turned into zombies and then also being used as weapons. So this is kind of like a bioweapon that they plan to use against, like, other, you know, entities, like countries perhaps, but they field tested it on humans, you know, innocent people of Raccoon City. And Nikolai is involved in this because he's actually using Raccoon City for battle data and wanted to sell that to other people for money, as well as the cure to the virus. So the thing that Carlos got his hands on earlier was actually, you know, the virus, the cure to the virus, and Nikolai also wanted that. The supervisor being Nikolai.
I'm quite impressed you've managed to stay alive up until now.
And you seem to be doing a pretty good job of looking out for yourself. How about helping out?
I have no intention of helping you.
Because we're nothing but pawns in all this?
In a manner of speaking, you are. Our employers wanted a detailed analysis of the zombie beings which were created through infection by the T-virus.
You're saying that they deliberately sent in a military unit to be butchered by their creations?
Not exactly. Although the conditions encountered on this operation were extreme, it was an unexpected outcome that the team would be wiped out. We were only required to collect live data from the subjects.
Ah!
Another mutant!
This reveals that the Umbrella Soldiers themselves are also test subjects because they are being used to see how long they could survive against the zombies.
What's going on? Whoa! Oh my. What is that?
After being thrown into another boss fight, I wasn't exactly sure what to do. I figured just shooting it would be, you know, do the trick, but I ended up getting backed into a corner, and this attempt didn't end too well. This second attempt didn't go a whole lot better. On the third attempt, I was able to knock over this lamppost, or I guess lower the boss's health enough to have him lower the lamppost. And once he crossed over it, I shot it, electrified the water, and he just, you know, crawled right into it, took himself out.
Stars.
After taking out Nemesis and entering the laboratory for the first time, solving a few puzzles and whatnot, you make your way to the back of the laboratory and you find this area right here. After entering the door, it starts a countdown, and there is once again another boss fight with Nemesis.
Stars.
This is the second to last boss fight in Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, and I actually liked this one. I'm not sure if it was because it was a puzzle or because it was easier, but I just liked, you know, the idea behind it. Like, oh, you gotta get Nemesis. He was like crumbling apart to like hit himself and, you know, trip these acid levers.
Missile attack confirmed.
Yeah, and after taking out Nemesis, theoretically for the last time, there's a nuke heading towards Raccoon City, and we have to make our way out of it before it explodes. But something interrupts us one more time.
Checking system. Checking battery. Warning, there is not enough power to activate the system. Battery connected.
This is actually the final fight of Resident Evil 3, and I actually also really liked this one as well. It was kind of like a puzzle because you had to push in these 3 batteries in order to charge up that really powerful looking laser beam looking thing.
Rail cannon has been activated. Executing quick charge program. Prepare system. Fire.
The idea for this boss fight is now that you have this big laser cannon thing charged up with all the batteries, it's gonna fire in a few seconds. So the idea is you want to bring Nemesis, or like huge mutant dog Nemesis thing, into this corner right in front of the laser, so when it goes off it hits them and does a lot of damage.
Warning. System overheating. Entering cooldown mode.
You want stars? I'll give you stars.
After finally taking out Nemesis, I ended up staying at the door just to make sure he dissolved all the way, and he did, and that's actually pretty cool that they left that in.
Jill! Over here!
I guess we're all set.
All right then, we're out of here.
Oh no.
It's here. It's time to go.
That's it. I've had it. This time they've gone too far.
And now we have a rather unfortunate turn of events. It seems that the President and the Federal Council have passed judgment over the civilians of Raccoon City. The President and Federal Council have ruled that the Bacillus Terminate operation is the best course of action for this extreme situation, and have since executed. Based on that fact, Raccoon City has been literally wiped off the map. Current reports have the death toll surpassing the 100,000 mark. Our hearts go out to those poor civilians of Raccoon City.
After finally, playing through the whole game of the Resident Evil 3, the original, I ended up really liking it. It was brutal in a few parts, not because of the controls. You do definitely get used to those after a while, but just like that boss fight earlier was like pretty rough, so it kind of made me, take a break for a little bit. I didn't do too good, as you could tell. Got a grade E, 20 saves, 5.5 hours. So overall, the game's pretty short, but if you're looking for, a fun little game to play, like zombie-related, action-related, anything like that, this is definitely it, especially if you're into, old stuff. And this is why I definitely recommend, new fans, old fans of Resident Evil who haven't played this game, definitely should go check it out. It's available on Steam now. I know they just added it. PlayStation stores had it for a while. Definitely give this game a chance. The controls you do get used to over time, and it definitely still has some charm to it. Very fun game. Highly recommend it.